affirm your testimony in the matter pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And I just need to make sure that you're speaking loudly enough into that microphone so that we can hear you, okay?
Okay, is that better?
Yes. Ma'am, could you state and spell your name for the record, please?
Yes, it's Ashley Hall, ASHLEY, HALL.
And where do you live, ma'am?
In Dicula.
I'm going to ask you about your relationship with the deceased in this case, Tara Baker. How did you meet Tara?
We were in the same sorority at Georgia College in Milledgeville, and then we ended up living together in the sorority house for a couple years. We both came to Georgia and ended up living together here as well.
Can you describe, in general terms, your friendship with Tara?
We were extremely close. Pretty much once we met, that was kind of came a little bit inseparable. And then when we both came here for I was doing my graduate studies and she was in law school, we were living together. Of course, you just didn't have as much time together, but we were still very close.
What kind of friend was she?
Wonderful friend, sweet person, always nice to everybody, always up for anything, very Southern Belle, very someone that was very into her family. Like, I felt like her siblings were my siblings by the time I knew everything about them, all about her mother, how wonderful she was. She knew my family pretty much about the same. Very black and white. She knew right and wrong. There was no gray with Tara. Like, it was, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how you treat people. Fantastic person overall. And I know people say that about a lot of people, but she really was just pure of heart, just a great person.
I want to take you back to August of 2000.
Okay.
And did you and Tara and Valerie Lowe all move in together?
Correct.
And how did the three of you come to decide to live as roommates?
Well, I met Valerie through the equestrian team at UGA. We both rode on the team. And then Tara came in '99 to work for the law firm. And unfortunately, I had already signed a lease, so we couldn't live together that year. So we made a point, we made sure we were together the next year. And she got along with Valerie fine. And we were just very similar personality types, how we were raised, just both. Yeah, it turned out to be a great roommate situation. So,
Where did y'all move into in August of 2000?
Fawn Drive.
In that time, starting in August of 2000, did all of you have boyfriends?
We did, yes. I was dating my now husband, Chris Hall. Valerie was with Jeff Hall, and then Tara was Chris Melton. We thought it was funny because we had two Chris's and two Halls in that whole set. So
let's talk a little bit about Tara and Chris.
okay,
You recall how they met?
at Georgia College, mutual friends. He actually was a cheerleader at Georgia College, and my brother was a cheerleader. And kind of just small school, you meet through that way. So
Over the course of your friendship with Tara at Georgia College, up through and including moving into 160 Fawn Drive with her, did you have an opportunity to see her relationship with Chris?
yes, we attended sorority functions all together. We went camping together. We went on trips together. Just hung out together. So definitely immersed in their relationship.
In that, again, that fall semester, so starting in August of 2000, where was Chris living at that time?
He was living Jamestown Apartments, I believe it was, with Chase Guerin.
Is that here in Athens?
That's in Athens, yes, I'm sorry.
Do you remember where in Athens that is?
The Jamestown, right off of Millage, I believe.
Can you describe for the jury kind of what, at least inside y'all's house at 160 Fawn Drive, what that fall semester was like.
Well, I was starting my graduate studies. Tara was starting her law studies. Valerie was finishing her undergrad, and she was starting her grad studies the next semester, but it was busy. I mean, we were kind of passing each other, or we're just studying at all times. And then we had our boyfriends on weekends. We either would do something with the boyfriends, or we'd do stuff together too. But it was just that time of your life where you weren't getting any sleep and you were studying and, just living your life. So,
do you recall during that fall semester occasions where Tara would spend the night over at Chris's
Yes.
apartment? Do you also remember occasions when Chris would spend the night at 160 Fawn Drive?
not as much. It was mainly over there. So,
moving forward a little bit to the start of the spring semester, did you notice any change in Tara as it related to her relationship with her studies?
she was really buckled down. She was stressed with school. I mean, this UGA law school, it was a tough department. I think Chris ended up moving back with his parents more, so they just couldn't see each other as much. And so mainly just really buckling down with school.
You mentioned Chris had moved back in with his parents. Do you know why?
He was helping his father. He was a plumber, and he just started working more full time. So was starting his career and trying to go off on his own a little bit. He just was busy, and it just made more sense for him to work from there versus driving an hour to his work sites.
Where did Chris live, if you know?
Loganville?
Do you recall a time when Chris gave Tara a Christmas present that year?
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I know he gave her maybe a piece of furniture or something, or...
And without going into anything that Tara may have told you, did you get an impression as to her reaction to that gift? Does that question make sense?
Oh, anything he would give her, she was over the moon about. She just liked anyone to think of her. So usually if you just give her, you could have given her, I would draw a little picture sometimes when I was bored at work, and she would hang them on her wall, that's just, she just liked anyone to think of her. So anything he gave her would have been wonderful to her, so.
Turning to Thursday, January the 18th, were you at the house at 160 Palm Drive that afternoon?
Yes.
Were you heading out of town that weekend?
I was. My class for Friday was canceled, so my boyfriend was going to Georgia State and ended up going to see him.
Do you recall being at home with Tara that afternoon?
Yes, we had a long conversation because with her birthday coming up, I actually had a horse show that weekend, so I couldn't go to her party. And so we were talking about what we were going to do to celebrate later for her birthday. And then we're just catching up on everything for the week, since it was rare for us just to have time to sit and talk.
So you mentioned a birthday. Do you remember what she was going to do?
I think go to a couple different places downtown Athens with her law friends and some people she used to work with.
Did she seem excited?
Oh, she was thrilled, yeah. I hated I was missing it. That was going to be, she was very excited.
Do you recall Tara talking to anyone on the phone that afternoon?
I think she and Chris talked on the phone, but they talked about every day.
If you know, was Chris planning on coming in town that weekend?
I don't remember if he could make the party, but I know he was coming in town and they were doing something for the birthday.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
All right, any response to the objection?
I didn't ask to elicit any statements by
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Did Tara appear excited about the weekend plans?
Yes, she was extremely excited about the weekend plans. And she was excited about seeing Chris.
Let's talk a little bit about Tara's morning routine. What do you recall about that?
She was pretty much a creature of habit. Shower in the morning, she'll go eat breakfast. She would always have 2 bags of cheese grits, because I like cheese grits too, and that was a bonding moment. Eat her grits and then go finish getting ready. She had really thick hair, so it took her forever to blow dry her hair, so usually she'll sit on the floor and flip her head over and blow dry her hair.
You went through that all really quick.
Sorry.
Really fast.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay. And so I'm going to ask you to kind of break that down
Okay.
one at a time. How would Tara start her day?
Shower.
And what would she then do next?
She would go make her breakfast.
And where would she go to make the breakfast?
Well, she'll go to the kitchen to make the breakfast, and then she'll probably sit on the sofa and eat it.
And at that time, after eating her breakfast, is that when she would go back?
Go back in her room and finish getting ready, yes.
You indicated that part of that included blow drying her.
Yes, she had a lot of really thick hair, and so she would have to usually sit on the floor because she would get tired of standing up. And we've lived together since my freshman year, so it was kind of a joke, her sitting down on the floor, flipping her head over, doing her hair all the time. So,
what time would she start her day?
depending on the class, if she had an early class, she'd like a 9:30, probably 6:30, 7:30. She liked to get everything ready and then study for whatever classes she had that day.
So that would kind of start that routine?
Yes.
Depending on what time the first class was?
Yes.
In kind of the last months of her life, had you noticed anything significant about Tara's relationship with Chris?
I think she was frustrated they couldn't see each other as much. Of course, with her schedule and his schedule now working full time, like every girl, she wanted her boyfriend to give her a little bit more attention. But I think I had the exact same complaint about my boyfriend at the time. So it was normal conversations you have with your friend about their relationship. Nothing off or nothing that would have caused me to be alarmed in any way.
You feel like your relationship with Tara that you've just described over the course of this afternoon, you would have recognized if there were...
Oh, yes. Yeah, like I said, Tara's very black and white. Like, we're not ones to share, like, maybe the little minute intimate, but we definitely knew what was going on in each other's lives. I mean, and if something was happening with Chris, since she knew I knew him and our relationship was what it was, she would have told me.
Ashley, or Ms. Hall, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I believe I have a motion, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to send the jury out. If you'll have a moment in the jury room and don't discuss the case. Thank you.
Just making sure. Yeah.
Y'all may be seated. You have a motion, Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am, and I'd just like to put the basis on the record. As Honorable Court is aware, Mr. Faust has a restriction on his line of questioning that he could ask witnesses in regards to statements that Ms. Baker may have made to said witnesses. during the state's examination of Mrs. P.V. Hall, there's been intimations of, well, and I'll say what the exact statement was, that if something was going on, she would have told me. Well, we have evidence to the contrary, but as of right now, we can't confront that statement because of the Honorable Court's ruling. So before I move further with our motion, I would ask, would the Honorable Court reconsider its ruling in regards to our residual hearsay motion with the statements that we have that Ms. Baker shared through Ms. Ashley Peavy?
All right, thank you. Mr. Bolden, Mr. Yelman, shall you care to respond to the motion?
It's asking the court to reconsider its ruling on our 607 before we move forward with any other motion. Our residual hearsay motion. I mean 807, excuse me.
Your Honor, to the extent that the state has asked Ms. Hall to testify about anything that Tara may have said, I understood the court's admonition the first time and have intentionally stayed away from that. I don't think that I have failed to or I've elicited any testimony that would, violate the rule that requires notification. So I don't know exactly what Mr. Cruz is asking.
All right, thank you. So first of all, your request for a reconsideration of a prior ruling is not properly brought in this manner. That's not an objection. And I think you're misinterpreting my prior order. And so I think it would be imperative, Mr. Cruz, to go back and review what my orders were about. If you want to file a motion to reconsider, you certainly may do that, and I will consider whether it is timely and whether I should take it up. But I think your interpretation of the court's order is not accurate.
It is accurate, Your Honor. The order that you gave.
I'm not going to argue with you, Mr. Cruz. I have made my ruling.
Well, sure. Well,
Do you have any other objection before I
do.
bring the jury back?
I
What
move
is your
for a
objection?
mistrial. And the grounds we're moving for a mistrial on, Ms. Peavy Hall was able to testify that Tara would tell me if there was anything going on with her and Chris Melton. We've submitted to the court and filed a residual hearsay notice to address those statements that were made. The Honorable Court advised us that we could not mention anything that Tara Baker told Ms. Peavy Hall in opening, and we cannot ask any questions related to that. Evidence has come into this case contrary to our 807 notice, residual hearsay notice, and we asked the Honorable Court to reconsider its restriction on the defense that is not on the state and allow us to ask questions in regards to that. The door has been open, Your Honor. We're just asking for fairness at this point.
Okay. Mr. Cruz, once again, you are misinterpreting this court's order.
I
And
am
think,
not, Your Honor.
Mr. Cruz, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just going to tell you what the court's position is. You are misinterpreting this court's order. It would be helpful for you to go back and look at the order and to review the
It's
law.
not written.
Mr. Cruz, I'm talking now.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be very helpful for you to go back and look at the court's order and to review the law that the court used in coming to that decision. This is not grounds for a mistrial. I'm going to deny your motion for a mistrial. If you want to file a motion to reconsider and it is filed properly, I will consider whether it is appropriate for the court to hear it at this point. We will, of course, do it outside the presence of the jury if the court decides to hear it. But until that motion is filed, I'm not going to consider a motion for reconsideration in this forum. But I do think it is imperative for you, Mr. Cruz, based on your arguments, to go back and look at the court's order and the law and to interpret it properly. And that is going to be my final answer. Would you please bring the jury back? Thank you.
Can we ask her about it? That's what the court hasn't ruled on, Your Honor.
Mr. Cruz, it would be imperative for you to begin your cross-examination. If there's an objection, I'll rule on it.
Yes, ma'am.
You all may be seated. Mr. Bolden?
Ms. Hall, talk a little bit about 160 itself, the house. Did y'all use the back door very often?
No, I think when we first moved, we might have looked out there, and that was about it. I mean, there's no reason to go in the backyard.
The window by the kitchen table, was that ever opened?
No, but I remember that it wasn't on the track correctly, so we could never really lock it. So I think we moved a chair back there, so thinking if someone walked in, we would hear it. But I think we did report that it was off track.
Did the three of you share keys with your boyfriend?
No.
Why not?
Like I said, we were very black and white on that. It was our house, and no boy should be there if we're not there with them. We were in law school, or grad school and law school, and just we're busy, and we don't need just a random person being there. And we were very respectful of each other's place.
How did you learn of Tara's death?
When we left, my boyfriend's in Atlanta, we first went to Winder, and then I went home, but my cell phone, like back there, we did not charge them, and mine was dead, because we just didn't use cell phones like that back then. And by the time I got home, my parents met me at the door and said there was a fire. My immediate thought was Tara left a candle burning. She loved candles, and but then we had to load up in the car and go to Athens, and I think just you didn't believe it, because and at the time we didn't know exactly what happened. We just knew there was a fire. So of course got to Athens and find out what happened, and I don't know. Some of it's kind of blocked out. I feel like your body shuts down when you get some type of that kind of trauma. But
Bear with me just.
no, you're fine. No, I'm here to answer whatever you need, both sides. But.
Ms. Paul, thank you so much. I don't have any further questions
Okay.
for you.
Thank you.
Cross-examination, Mr. Cruz.
Ms. Hall, I think the most important thing, and I think everybody in this courtroom would agree, I am tremendously sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you some questions. Some of the questions may be a bit difficult. Some of the questions may be a bit uncomfortable, okay? But I want to let you know I am tremendously sorry for your loss. I would like to start with talking about Miss Baker's life and how you knew Miss Baker, okay?
Okay.
I think we'd agree that Miss Baker was in law school, and she wanted to become a judge.
Eventually, yes. She wanted to do real estate law.
Is it fair to say that Miss Baker was known to have a keen sense of justice?
Yes,
Okay, and she would listen, hear things out before she would make a decision on something.
I agree. Yes.
And would you agree, as you sit here today, you just simply want answers on what happened to Miss Baker?
Well, and we want someone prosecuted in
Correct.
crimes. Yes.
But the right person. Is that
The
correct?
right person, definitely.
Yes, ma'am. So you knew Miss Baker in undergrad, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you didn't just know her in undergrad, you two went to college together.
We did.
And you two were roommates in college as well, is that right?
Yes. Correct.
And not only in undergrad, which was in Milledgeville, but you also were roommates here at 160 Fun Drive.
Correct.
You would have no reason to disagree that if Miss Baker was here, she would say you were her best friend.
I would hope so. Yes.
Ms. Hall, about a year and a half ago, do you recall being visited by law enforcement to discuss Miss Baker?
I do. Yes.
And as a part of that discussion, they asked you about Miss Baker's relationship with Chris Melton. Is that
Yes.
correct? And you didn't know Chris Melton just through Miss Baker. You knew Chris Melton because he went to undergrad with you two
I
as
did.
well.
Yes, I knew him before they ever dated.
And I believe Ms. Baker and Chris met at Georgia College.
They,
right?
yes.
Is it fair to describe Ms. Baker as, and if I say anything wrong, correct me, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Goal-driven and ambitious.
Very much.
And is it fair to say that you told law enforcement that Chris was very aloof and the fun guy to date in college, but not long-term?
If that's what it says, then that's what I said. But yes, he was. They had a lot of fun together, and I feel like they just didn't have a lot of time for each other at that time. So it was a possibility that, like relationships do, sometimes they end, but that's not to me. That's up to her. So I have no idea if they would have broken up or stayed together, and we never will. So.
Yes, ma'am. That's fair. And you may have answered this. I just want to make sure it's clear for the court reporter. You described Chris as very aloof and the fun guy to date in college, but not long term.
Well, that was my opinion. That might not have been her opinion.
Yes, ma'am. And Tara and Chris were a match you never thought would happen.
Well, because she was very serious, and he was fun, and what they got together, and it worked. So that's all that mattered. There's a lot of people, I'm sure, that, you know, in your past that they didn't look like they would work, and they were fantastic together.
And when you and Ms. Baker were staying at the Deer Park apartment, she was dating Chris. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And Chris would come over to the apartment a lot.
He would come some, but they mainly went over to his.
Sure. And I want to make sure that I use the right term. Do you recall telling law enforcement that Chris came over to the apartment a lot?
I don't recall, but if I said it, then that's what I said, yes.
So,
No,
I
that's
just want to make sure I'm clear from the record. Do you not recall?
Yes,
Or-
okay, I recall I said that. I said it a lot. Like I said, I talked to many reporters and many people, so.
And Chris would sleep over as well. Is that correct?
Some, yes.
Based on your personal knowledge, you don't know whether Chris had been provided a key to Deer Park or not. Is that correct? Excuse me, the Deer Park house or not?
Personally, no, but we wouldn't. She would have, one, told us if she gave him a key, and two, none of us would have ever given someone else a key that was not on the lease.
Sure. And thank you for that. And just to make sure it's clear for the record, to your personal knowledge, you don't know.
Of course, no one knows.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
As Tara's best friend and as her roommate, would it be fair to say that you had an opportunity to observe her relationship with Chris Melton?
Yes.
Is it fair to, well, let me rephrase that. When law enforcement met with you, you told law enforcement, I think once she started law school, I think they started dividing a little. Do you recall making that statement?
I'm sure I made the statement. The only thing I would mean by that statement is that he was starting his full-time job, plumbing, and she was trying to study. So they just didn't have the time together. And as I said before, that was just frustrating whenever you don't have the time with the person that you're with.
Yes, ma'am. And you also told law enforcement, and I quote, I mean, there were cracks already that, you know, it was just he was wanting more time, and she's like, hey, I'm in law school. Do you recall making that statement to law enforcement?
I'm sure I did if you said I did, but she was in law school. She was busy.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a fact.
Would you agree that you told law enforcement when asked about Ms. Baker's relationship with Chris Melton before her death, you stated, I think just the normal, you could almost see it was the normal, you could almost see the ending of a relationship, if that makes sense.
Well, that was my opinion, but does not mean that's what was happening.
Sure, but that was based on your
No, it's just, as I said before, they just couldn't spend time together. And so it just looked like they're both busy. It did not mean one thing or the other. She was frustrated at the time. Again, does not mean that their relationship was ending. He was one of the nicest people ever and was always sweet to her, never showed any anger toward her.
And you told law enforcement about the frustration around them not seeing each other. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is it true that you told law enforcement when you were asked, like they're starting to grow apart or he's getting on her nerves? Do you recall being asked that question?
I don't recall it, but if I said it, that's...
Would hearing,
But also, you have to remember, we were asked so many questions by so many times that it was getting on my nerves at that point. So sometimes I might have been a little abrupt.
yes, ma'am. I know you mentioned that you don't recall it. Would hearing your interview refresh your recollection in regards to that particular question and what your answer may have been?
If it makes, is there a reason for me to hear it?
Ma'am?
Is there a reason for me to hear it?
Sure, we could talk about it outside the presence of the jury, but at this time, the Honorable Court has only given me permission to ask questions.
Okay.
So would hearing your interview refresh your recollection into the question that was asked and your answer to that?
What exactly was the question, and maybe I can just answer it for you how you need it answered.
Yes, ma'am. You were asked by Agent Bigham, like they're starting to grow apart or he's getting on her nerves? And your response was, I think it was just getting frustrated. And I think they both were because she had to study so much. Do you recall making that statement?
Well, I'm sure I've made it many times, but yes, she did have to study a lot. And when he had time, a lot of times she didn't, and when she had time, he had to work. It was what happens when people start their real lives. You have priorities, and you just don't have the time to spend together. But that doesn't mean that he hurt her or did anything to her.
Yes, ma'am. Is that a yes or a no to my question?
Do I remember making that? Yes, okay, I remember that statement.
Thank you. Do you remember telling Elizabeth Bingham, and I think that was, once she started dating Chris Milton, and I think that they were kind of on the outs before everything happened?
Well, they just didn't have, not on the outs, they just didn't have the time together.
Do you recall making that statement?
I'm sure I made the statement. I'm just saying that they did not spend as much time together as they had previously.
Yes, ma'am. But you do recall making.
Yes, I recall making that statement.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Okay. That's right. That's right. I'm looking for the motion right now, but go ahead. I think we're going to have to talk about this in more detail because I still don't sort of understand what you're asking. So I think that's what one other time. We are almost done for today, but if you'll go into the jury room, please don't discuss the case. Thank you.
Didn't mean to do that.
Y'all may be seated. Thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Cruz. And I have your motions that we were talking about. In general, I have all three of them that are pending. So I'm pulling up the one related to this witness. Go ahead.
As the number court is aware, on January 20th, 2026, Mr. Faust filed a notice of intention to introduce residual hearsay testimony pursuant to OCGA section 248-807 in regards to Ms. Ashley Peavy. In court's indulgence, Your Honor, my computer just froze on me. I have a hard copy, actually. And we ask that the Honorable Court admit 3 statements from Ms. Tara Baker that were made to Ms. Ashley Peavy. The first statement that we ask for admission of is Ms. Peavy stated in her interview with law enforcement that Ms. Baker confided in her that Chris Melton was not considerate and that she was doing a lot and Chris was not reciprocating. She didn't feel appreciated. The second statement from Mrs. Peavy Hall, please forgive me. Ms. Baker expressed frustration to Mrs. Peavy Hall, advising that Chris Melton wanted more time with her, but Ms. Baker was unable to give it. The third statement that we asked that the Honorable Court admit through Mrs. Ashley Peavy Hall is that Ms. Baker. The third statement, we ask the court not to consider that statement. We're asking about the first two. And the reason we bring this motion up, Your Honor, is because during direct examination, the state elicited testimony from Mrs. Peavy Hall where she stated that if there was something, and I'm paraphrasing, but if there was an issue in the relationship, Tara would have said something to her about it. I believe it was 2 other times because the state didn't exactly ask these questions. It was the answers that was given back to them. There were 2 prior occasions I just didn't say anything to, but once we hit the third occasion, I asked the Honorable Court, could it consider or consider making a ruling on our motion or reconsider its ruling on our motion.
I didn't make a ruling on this motion. It's pending.
Well, the pending ruling was not to make any statements in opening about it. It was restriction on defense counsel not to ask any questions related to our 807 motion.
We had a hearing. That's right.
Well, until Chris Melton testified. And after Chris Melton testified, the Honorable Court said it would reconsider our motion at that time. Which I respect the Honorable Court. I respect the Honorable Court's order. But once testimony has come in from the witness that we have a residual hearsay motion pending on that's contrary to what we know the evidence would show, we're saying in essence that this has now become competent and relevant evidence that we could use to impeach the prior statement given on direct of Mrs. Peavy Hall.
Steve, care to respond?
Yes, Your Honor, and I'll just cite, there's basically in all of the notes on decisions here, there's a very good first sentence to all of them. The residual exception to hearsay is to be used very rarely and only in exceptional circumstances. That holding is in Brooks v. State, 365, Georgia App 711. And frankly, Judge, I haven't had a chance to read all of these cases. These are just the notes on decisions. Thrift v. State, 310, Georgia 499. Miller v. State, 303, Georgia 1. Those are in order. I'm sorry, I should have done this to begin with. 2022 Court of Appeals case, a 2020 Georgia Supreme Court case, in a 2018 Georgia Supreme Court case. These are certainly not exceptional circumstances, Your Honor. What they are is a couple of statements cherry-picked about minor regular relationship complaints that parties would have in an effort by Mr. Cruz to cast a certain light on the relationship between Ms. Baker and Mr. Melton. This witness, and I would just state, the court heard the objection from defense counsel to statements similar to the statements he's attempting to admit, and it sustained that objection and directed the state to move away. Defense counsel is not seeking to admit the third notice statement. And if we look at the first two notice statements, I don't believe there's a way to interpret those as being necessary in creating some kind of exceptional circumstance. The witness has acknowledged that there were challenges in the relationship that were created by a lack of time, and has not denied. She may not be familiar with each statement that Mr. Cruz has read to her that are purportedly quotes from the interview that she had with the GBI in 2024, but she has acknowledged that they had her perception of things may have been that they were drifting away, but she didn't have the ability to get inside of Ms. Baker's head, and her overall view of their relationship was nothing that caused her concern. I failed to see, residual hearsay is an extraordinary exception. If we think about all of the exceptions to the hearsay rules, there are well over a dozen. And so when you're going into this catch-all category, especially in a circumstance where you are picking random statements that Ms. Peavy Hall has referenced in talking to law enforcement, and the only one that's close in time to the crime, the defense is not seeking to admit anymore. I'm not sure that there's been a date provided as far as when these statements were allegedly made by Ms. Baker to Ms. Peavy Hall. So that in and of itself, I think is a failure to show how they would be extraordinary. This would qualify as an extraordinary circumstance. We don't even know the temporal relationship to these statements. You go inside any serious long-term relationship or any marriage, and if we're going to pick out times where one party or the other made some kind of statement about being frustrated by the conduct of the other party, that certainly wouldn't be an extraordinary circumstance. And that's exactly what Mr. Cruz is describing here, Your Honor. So I don't think the court should let it in under 807. The only other cases that I've seen, Judge, and I can look back and find them again, but when we looked at it when the notice was filed, most of the statements that I saw had things to do with statements directly related to the crime, either made by the decedent or made by some witness who was unavailable, not through any kind of wrongdoing of the party who is trying to admit that residual exception. And so I'm unaware of any case where a criminal defendant who is on trial for the murder of the declarant has been allowed under the residual hearsay exception to admit statements from them. I don't think Mr. Cruz is citing any case. There may be one out there. I'm not saying that, and that's not even really the determinative factor for the court. But I've not seen any cases where it was admitted in any circumstance that would be anywhere close to this.
All right, thank you.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Okay.
In regards to the exceptional circumstance, Ms. Baker is not here to speak for herself. As the state has clearly said multiple times, my client is the individual charged with Ms. Baker's death. So I have the burden of not only getting justice for my client, but also Ms. Baker. We're presenting the evidence that the state had and did not use. The exceptional circumstance is the state had all this evidence of Chris Melton's guilt for 24 years and ignored them. Even today, when I've given them, I've given you your own evidence, they still continue with the prosecution of Mr. Faust. Our position, honorable court knows this, is that Chris Melton did this. We're presenting the evidence to establish that Chris Melton committed this crime, and a part of that evidence is Ms. Baker herself saying, hey, these are the issues, or these are my feelings about my relationship with Chris Melton.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cruz. All right, so I'm going to move backwards from 3, 2, and 1. First of all, number 3 has been withdrawn by defense counsel, and I've noted that in the motion, and I will order it withdrawn, and that will not be allowed. Number 2 is has already been testified to by this witness, and so I'm going to deny your motion on number 2. This witness did articulate what you are seeking basically to introduce in number 2 of this motion, and because of that, your motion does not meet the standard for the court to grant you the ability to have any of those statements introduced under 807. With regard to number 1, I think what is important for me to tell you is that the state's comments that your request, Ms. Tara Baker confided to Ms. Ashley Peavy that Chris Melton was not considerate and that she was doing a lot and Chris was not reciprocating, she didn't feel appreciated, is very vague and general in nature. I will let you at this moment, in support of your motion, voir dire question this witness about that moment that you seek to introduce. It's outside the presence of the jury. The court cannot make any determination about your request because of the vagueness of that particular statement. I don't even know what the statement is that you're seeking to introduce. The way that you have written it in the motion, and you may have just done it to put the court and the state on notice, and that's fine, is a general sense of what you're insinuating.
Sure.
But I know you're asking to introduce a specific statement.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to ask you to, if you choose to,
Yes, ma'am.
question this witness outside the presence of the jury about what it is you want this court to admit, the specific statement, but it also needs to have the specific supporting testimony, the foundation that Mr. Yalamachola was referring to.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it is not proper under 807 for the court to admit statements that are not particularized, that are not associated with something very specific. Just sort of a general request is not appropriate under 807. And so in the context that perhaps you were just giving the court notice of what you wanted, I'll let you voir dire or question this witness if you choose to, and then I'll let you cross-examine, sort of, or redirect, or whatever you want to call it also, and I'll make a decision.
Sure. Thank you.
And that's with regard to number 1 in your motion.
Thank you, Your Honor.